Hey guys, this is your first lecture video. Make sure that you watch the entire thing to get counted here for your attendance for today. All right, see you later. Is this thing on? Oh, it is. Okay, cool. Let's get to it. So, hello, my name is Miss Simon. I am your biology teacher. Before we get into the material, what exactly is biology? Like, what is it? Well, I don't know. Let's figure it out together. So, in your elementary and middle schools, you had science classes, right? You went to science class, you guys did some different things, you guys looked at things under microscopes, maybe mixed a couple chemicals and whatnot, and that was boom, that was science. Well, you're in high school now. And in high school, we separate them out into three sciences, okay? So we have biology first, then you take chemistry, then you take physics, and then for your fourth science, you get to choose from a bunch of different ones that are considered to be more fun. Okay, so in your middle school and elementary school science classes, you probably learned about planets and the solar system and all of that fun jazz. You might have also learned about weather, about climate, about how the sun does whatever it does and the clouds do whatever they do. You probably learned about that as well, okay? You probably even learned a little bit about various animals, right? You might have learned about some different animals. Well, in biology, we're going to learn about, some of these different things because biology is the study of life. So in my class, I'm going to give you the tools that you need to understand life as we know it, life on Earth as we know it, right? Biology is the study of all living things, life on Earth. So the question is, living or non-living? What are the characteristics of life and what makes something alive versus something else not alive? Let's say you and your trusty companion, your dog, are taking a walk. You're taking a walk and you see this beautiful view. On this view, what are some things that you notice about the world around you? So you may have noticed, boom, there's some grass. Okay, cool, there's some grass. Yeah. You may also notice, oh, I'm here, I'm a human. Hopefully everyone in my class is a human. And there's a small bug. You could have noticed the dog, clouds, water. There's lots of water on this picture. Or you might have even thought about, oh, I can't really see them, but I know that there's probably fish somewhere in this water. Sunlight. All the things that are in the environment that you can see while you're on this walk. Now, every single thing is going to fit into one of two categories. It's either going to be living, alive, or it's going to be non-living, not alive. So how do we know what exactly is alive and what's not alive? Like I said, everything on Earth is either living or non-living. Essentially, things that are classified as living have to have a certain characteristics, certain things about them that make them living things. So, big list of them. I'm just going to read them off and we'll talk about them individually. Okay? So, living things are made up of cells. They reproduce, they grow, they use energy, they respond to their environment. They also maintain this crazy thing called homeostasis. Homeostasis just means to stay balanced, right? If you're off balance, you're not in homeostasis. You want to get yourself back into balance. We'll talk lots about homeostasis throughout the entire school year. Okay? These organisms also have to adapt and evolve in some way. That's what makes a living thing a living thing. So what makes a non-living thing a non-living thing? Well, if we already classify things as living, as doing this, then everything that does not do this is non-living. Let's take a look at these two things right here. So we have a trusty rock over here, and then over here we have a cool, totally cool tree, right? It's so beautiful. Look at it. Let me move so you can see it. Admire it. Ah, ooh, yes. Okay, so we have a rock and a tree. We're going to see which of these is living and which of these is non-living. A rock. Can a rock have a baby? I don't think so. How about a tree? Can a tree have a baby? Yeah, we've seen tree babies. Have you seen a small tree grow into a bigger one? and a baby tree just start to sprout. How about respond to their environment? If something is going on, can a rock respond in any way? No. A rock cannot respond. It cannot move. It cannot really think on its own, right? A rock cannot. Can a tree respond to its environment? Yes, it can. If there's not a lot of water in the environment, what's the tree's response? The tree shrivels up. How about grow larger? Is a rock always the same size, or does it ever get bigger? How about a tree? Are trees all start off at the same size? Okay, so based off of this, we pretty much can tell that a rock doesn't have any of those characteristics of life, right? A rock can't reproduce. It doesn't grow larger. It doesn't maintain homeostasis. It doesn't do any of those things that makes something alive. While a tree does do those things. A tree reproduces. A tree maintains homeostasis. An example of that is like how much water a plant has to have. If it has too little water, then it's off balance, it's out of homeostasis. When it has a lot of water, it's going to be back into homeostasis. Okay, so those are everything on Earth is either living or non-living. Okay? So that brings us to our first, or maybe our second, I can't really tell, I wasn't keeping track, vocabulary word of the school year. Yay! One thing that you'll notice about biology is it's a lot of vocabulary. It's almost all vocabulary, but don't worry because I've already anticipated that it's going to be a lot of new words and I have systems in place to help you out, okay? So just try and follow along with me. So an ecosystem is a biological community of interacting organisms and their physical environment. Like I did that physical environment. Interacting organisms is going to be the living things. So trees, plants. Well, a tree is a plant, but trees and other plants. There we go. That's better. Spiders, humans, dogs, all of that. Those are living organisms. Their physical environment is going to be things like rocks, right? Things like sunlight. This is a phone, but sunlight. The water. Spilled that on myself. Yeah. So here's an example of an ecosystem right here. So we have what's called a marine ecosystem. So marine, you may have already guessed, means water, right? Underwater, an underwater ecosystem, and you can see by this picture. Take a look at what you see here, right? Remember our definition of living and non-living. Think about our different characteristics of life. And I want you to list to me different things in this picture that you can see that are living. A lot of people probably put fish. Correct. If you also said coral or sea anemone, things like that, those are also alive. And yes, coral is a living thing. Now I want you to list one thing that is non-living that you can see in this picture. For the non-living things, you might have said water or light or heat or a rock. Let's look at this picture together. So here you might see that this is a rainforest ecosystem, right? So some living things that we can see. We see birds, we see butterflies, snakes, flowers, any of these trees, things like that. And then for something that is non-living, again, you could say the heat, the humidity, the light, rocks, dirt. Those things are non-living. They don't have characteristics of life, right? So at this point, everyone should be clear on non-living and living. However, we're going to throw away those words non-living and living, and we're going to start to use biotic and abiotic, okay? So biotic is the word that means living. B-I-O, that means living. So these are living things. We know that because, again, in biology, B-I-O, the study of life, the study of living things. You may also have heard of the word biography, right? It's a graph of a person's life, a book of a person's life. So again, B-I-O means life. Then we have this fancy word abiotic that just means non-living. Abiotic has B-I-O in it, so we know that there's something with life. However, this whole the A thing, A means away from or not. So Abio means not life, not living. So an abiotic factor is non-living. So again, everything on Earth is either going to be living or it's going to be non-living. So everything on Earth is either biotic or it's abiotic. So let's look at this image right here. Right, we see this scene. I'm guessing they're somewhere in Hawaii. It's looking really fun, looking really colorful and pretty. Right, I want you to give me 3 biotic factors that you can see on this image. Now I want you to give me 3 abiotic factors, non-living factors, that you can see in this image. How do scientists actually organize life? What are the levels of organization? So an organism is going to be one living thing, one individual living thing. So examples of that: one tree, one bacteria, one human, and one spider. Each of those, that tree is an organism, the bacteria is an organism, the human is an organism, the spider is its own organism. They're individual living things. You watching this video, you are an organism. You are one thing that is alive. Then we have this word population. So population is the same exact species living in the same exact place. So for example, you could have 2 apple trees in a backyard. Those are the same species living in the same place. 1,000 E. coli bacteria, right? So these are all the same bacteria. They're all E. coli. There's more than one of them, and they're in the same exact place. All the seniors at Poly. So all the senior humans at Poly. Same species, same place. Or 2 dozen spiders in the basement. 2 dozen spiders, they're all the same spider type. They're all in the same place, the basement. So that's a population. Same exact species in the same exact space. Then we have a community. So a community is going to be different species in the same exact place. So example of that would be a forest that has saplings, has maple trees, maybe a lemon tree, just different tree species. They're all trees, but they're still different species. So that's a community. Okay, all the different bacteria in one dog's stomach would be a community. Seniors, so the seniors at Poly and their class pet, a spider and a bumblebee. Right, they're different species, but in the exact same place. Ecosystem is going to be all the biotic and abiotic factors in the same exact place. What did biotic mean again? And what did abiotic mean? Yes, correct. Biotic is living, abiotic is non-living. Boom. So, example of an ecosystem would be the trees, the rocks, the sunlight, and the wind in my backyard. So the tree is living, but the rocks, sunlight, and wind are not living. That's an ecosystem. The students, the chairs, and water in a science classroom. So the students are going to be living, the chairs and the water are non-living, so biotic and abiotic in one place, ecosystem. Next up, we're going to have some picture diagrams to show you what exactly that means. So I see up here, we have one fish. It's an individual organism. Then we have more than one fish. They're all these orange little fish. That's a population of them. There's more than one of them. They're the same species. A community is going to be that fish plus some grass plus another jellyfish, a bluefish, and I think that's a crab, right? That's a community. These are multiple species all living in the same place. While an ecosystem is going to then include all those organisms we just talked about, plus a rock, plus some water, right? That's an ecosystem, the living and the non-living, the biotic and the abiotic factors. Then we have what's called a biome. So a biome is just a type of ecosystem. So a rainforest, a desert, a regular forest, a grassland. Those are the different biomes on Earth. And then we have what's called the biosphere. Biosphere, a living sphere. Hello. It's planet Earth. The biosphere is planet Earth. So let's have a final wrap up just to review our levels of organization one more time. So we have right here an organism. I think this is an impala. An impala, one single one, is an organism. That's an individual organism. An individual living thing is an organism. Then we have what's called a population. Population is more than one organism that are all the same species, right? These are all the same species. The next level of organization is a community. That community is still those organisms we just looked at, plus other species as well. So we see a vulture, think back here, these are some lions, some donkeys, and some zebras, right? These are all make up a community. The entire ecosystem then includes water, rocks, the sun, the clouds. The ecosystem is all the living and non-living things in one place. But we have what's called the biosphere, so the sphere that is living, that we know as planet Earth. Okay? All right, good job on finishing up your lecture video. Now make sure you do your virtual notebook and then complete it with your exit ticket.